which will be there attending the session, but not all of them will be successful. So similarly, even now this year there may be 30 students who are taking the cardiology training, but out of those 30 people, 3 or 4 may be successful. So what are those habits? Try not to study too much studying at one time. Plan specific times for studying. Try to study at same time each day. For example, one can choose early in the morning, one can choose late in the evening, or late in the night. Similarly, set specific goals for your study time. For example, today if I'm going to study, so I will try to study the anatomical names. So whichever will be that, I will try to study for that. Then start studying whenever planned. Okay, it's not like this. Okay, I had planned to study around 9 o'clock, but I will start studying by around 10 o'clock. No, that's not good. One should work on the assignments or materials that are the most difficult one. So study with the most difficult ones first, go for the easy ones later on. Review the notes before beginning an assignment. So you should try to review the notes as well before you're trying to start any work or assignment as well. Do away with the distractions during the study time, like the WhatsApp or any kind of messaging and emails checking. Try to do away with that. And yes, if you need assistance, ask for expert help. This is very important. Similarly, over the weekends, try to review the schoolwork. Okay? So, for your benefit, I have rewritten it as well. You can always go through. And what happens is, this is a common thing, you know, trying to speak to others and all. So, similarly, the other important thing for any kind of student is what is a effective place to study, where to study. Can someone tell me? Use the chat box, please. So, the study place should always be available to you. It should not have any interruptions, no distractions, should have your study material which you want to use for studying, and a large enough desk or table. It should have a large storage area as well to keep your study materials which you want to study. There needs to be a comfortable chair. The light should be good, and the temperature as well has to be good as well. Okay? So sometimes I like you to have some good gaps as well. That's the reason why it is there. Okay? So, what about the different study methods? It will always depend upon your learning style, the teaching methods which is being used. So I was at Harvard Medical School in 2014 to do a course on advanced teaching techniques for the medical students. So the students can be taught also on, for example, while going to a museum, how to use those museums as well. But it is more on the smaller groups. Smaller groups, I mean, is 1 to 1, 1:2, 1:3 at the most. So that's why more higher you go in your specialty training, it will be 1:1, 1:2, 1:3, not more than that. So the personal mentoring has to be done as well. So the learning will further depend what type of test is being used, what type of course material has to be learned as well. So on the basis of that, there are plenty of methods and techniques. So when I was at Maastricht University in Netherlands, so which is ranked in the top 50 clinical universities of the world, okay, to tell you very frankly, so for example, being in India, everyone thinks like AIMS Delhi is the one of the best, isn't it? However, when you will try to see in the top clinical university ranking or top university ranking from the Times Higher Education, it doesn't even configure in the top 3,000. Why? Because there is lack of lot of things as well. So if some university is in the top, there's a lot of good things. And always remember, eyes see what the brain knows. So if I'm talking about the Times Higher Education ranking, so one will be thinking, what the hell, what this guy is talking. Only if someone is aware of this ranking system, then one will be able to understand it. One will be able to appreciate it. If one doesn't, so like that is then ignorance. So in Maastricht University, as I was telling you, it is in the top 50 clinical universities of the world. So this is a pioneer for what is called as PBL, problem-based learning. So that's why I try to give you some situations. I try to ask you questions as well. And that's the good way. I would say like you should try to participate in that. Try to answer. Yes, you will commit mistakes, but this is the time to commit mistakes. Try to be interactive. Try to take your chances. Okay? It is not just the hard work what counts nowadays, but also the smart work what counts. So, acronyms. So even to give you a practical idea as well, one can, if one wants to use acronyms as well, they are really good ways. So for example, if someone has to remember these, as you can see it over here, these lakes, okay, so the five Great Lakes. So one can create an acronym like HOMES. So where Michigan, Erie, Superior, Ontario, Huron. Similarly, you can even so these are the different cities in the Mississippi in US. You can also create an acronym. So if you have to remember what are those cities in Mississippi, so you can, if you are finding it initially difficult, you can always create an acronym as well of these cities, and you can try to remember. So earlier itself I said about the peg words. So it can be used for a lot of different kind of things. Literally the reasons, for example, we should conserve energy, and then what happens is each peg word is associated with a number which will be corresponding to the number of reasons. For example, so you have to try to think of a first piece of information to be remembered. Think of a peg word for number one. The peg word should rhyme with one. Then you have to create a picture in your mind to associate with that peg word. After that, repeat point 1, 2, 3 with each of the information you want to remember. For example, the words are run, shoe, tree, door, dive, fix. Okay? So as I said, the number words are 1, 2, 3, 4 as usual. This is how it is. So you create these peg words. So on the basis of that, you can try to make it for different, you know, like for example the forests which give food for animals, or or like the shelter for animals. Then for lumber, for the building and paper. Okay. So then how do you do that? So this is a typical another beautiful example. I would really suggest whenever you are free later on, try to go through these specialized techniques. It might be difficult right now, but as I said, I'm trying to cover a lot of things, and you have to be able to discover what your body likes, what your brain likes, which is more suitable for you, for example. Okay? So this is again another beautiful example. So the reasons why one should not smoke. So it can cause these problems, right? So in this, what you can do is just find the keywords. For example, in this, if you try to look carefully, is wrinkles, finance, coughs, smell, and breath. And you can make an acronym as well for that. Or the way in which we showed it for the peg words. Similarly, that way as well, it can be used. Then an important thing is what is called as flashcards. So in the flashcards, one of the important things is do not put too much information on any one card. Each card should only contain one piece, and always carry your cards with you. Review your cards often. If you always have your cards, wasted or wait time can become learning time. So, for example, if you're just standing and waiting for the bus, or if you're sitting in the back of the car doing nothing, so the wasted or the wait time can become your learning time. And don't keep the order of the cards in the same way. Change the order of the cards frequently. You need to learn the information, not which card or answer comes first. Okay? So, information retention is the key. So, uh, this is a great site. I would really like you. You can go online and in a game format, you can print the cards in a study sheet format as well. But yes, you will have to register on the site. But they are pretty free, in fact. You can also go to the Heartbeats, beatsz.com, heartbeats.com. Over there as well, similar programs and all are available, and I'm sure they will be pretty helpful to you. Then comes the loci method. So this is the method of remembering items by imagining a place you're very familiar with and associating the item to remember to that location. This is very good for kinesthetic learners, so in the form of motion or movement. Yeah. So, for example, yeah, as the already it is written, like you're walking through a familiar location in your kitchen, so there is an order of things. Okay. So if someone asks you to remember the first three presidents, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Richard Nixon. So you just have to close your eyes, think that you are there in the kitchen. You walk into the kitchen, so you think Washington is eating berries at the kitchen table, Jefferson is reading the table, and Nixon is standing with the refrigerator open. Believe me, if you have been able to imagine this, you will not forget at all. Okay? So, yes, it can be those. Uh, it's as I said, not every technique is for everyone. So, loci method can be difficult for people who are not kinesthetic learners. So, yeah, uh, if you can apply, try to think. For example, Edison, Alexander Bell, Graham Bell, huh? George Kavner, or Benjamin Franklin. Try to use this. If let's see if you are able to recall it as well. Try to use the chat box if you are able to create a situation, and are you able to use this force, four of them. Mm-hmm. So we'll go through this later on. So then comes the image name technique. Yeah? Do you remember the Jay Leno? So this was a famous guy who was a really famous TV presenter. So this method is very easy, short, and used for remembering places or even people as well. Then there is another system, what is called as Aspire system. So A is for the approach, attitude, arrange. So you should approach your studies with a positive attitude. Arrange your schedule to eliminate distractions. Then comes the select. So you should select a reasonable chunk of material to study. Survey the headings, graphics, pre and post questions, and also study marking any information you do not understand. Then the P, aspire, we are talking about. P, put aside or piece together. So put aside your books and notes, piece together what you have studied, and try to summarize that information yourself. I, inspect what you did not understand. Investigate all available sources of information like textbooks, online, dictionary. Then inquire from support professionals like the librarians, tutors, teachers. R, reconsider the content. What questions would you ask the author? Reflect on the material. How can I apply this material? Relay understanding. How would I make this information more interesting or easier for others to be able to understand? And the last is E for the aspire. So you should evaluate your grades on tests and assignments and look for patterns or weakness. Examine your progress on improving weak areas. Explore the options for you with teachers, tutors, and other students. So that was aspires. I think everyone uses study groups, literally from you know, the young days even till the older system of education as well. Study groups can be very beneficial in some situations. However, there are several things to consider when thinking about these study groups. It has different roles as well, it has different benefits as well. A support group can be a motivator. It is easier to ask classmates questions. Your commitment might be stronger because the group, it depends upon all the groups. Study groups add a different auditory aspect to your learning experience. One or more group member is likely to understand something that you do not. Similarly, you can learn new study techniques or habit from other groups. You can also compare your notes with other students. Teaching or explaining concepts to other group members will reinforce your learning. Better face it. Studying can be boring. Study with others can make the studying more enjoyable. Okay? So this is also important, like how to get the study group started. So you should try to get to know your classmates well before asking them to join your study group. You should be able to answer yes to the next questions if I'm going to ask. Is the classmate motivated to learn? The answer should be yes. Similarly, does the classmate understand the subject well? Is the classmate dependable? Would this classmate be tolerable to other ideas? Would you like to work with this classmate? If the answer to these five questions is not yes, you should not invite them. Okay? Further, invite the correct number of classmates to your study group, not more than 3 to 5 per group. Decide how often and how long the group will meet each week, like 2 to 3 times a week, okay, and a session of 60 to 90 minutes, not more than that. Decide where to meet. So the location can be, must be actually, without distractions. It can be in a private room, it can be in a private house, but not in a, movie theater, in a club, or in a restaurant like that. You should be able to decide on the goals of the group. Goals can include review notes, discussing the readings, and study for exams. You should be able to decide on leader for the group, and if the leader will be the same or change every week. So there can be one leader, for example, for the whole, all the sessions. Otherwise, the leaders can change as well. Yeah. Then try to set an agenda for each meeting, including specific member assignments. So, for example, okay, Robert is going to do all these things. Narendra is going to do all these things. Then Khalid is going to do these works. Okay, so there should be specific member assignments as well. Then develop a contact list for the members with all of their contact information and provide to each member. Okay, now, okay, you have made a successful study group, but how will you know it's a good one? So, in such study group, all the group members contribute. All the group members actively listen without interrupting each other. The group members work together to resolve any problem arising. All the members are prompt and they come ready to work. The group stays on task according to agenda. Members always show each other respect, so the mutual respect has to be there. And the members should be able to feel comfortable with constructive criticism. Even the members should feel encouraged to ask questions. And at the end of each meeting, an agenda is set with assignments for the next meeting. And above all, a positive attitude that we can do this together is maintained. See, study group is also like the other things as well, where some positive things also happens, some negative things also happens. So, possible pitfalls of the study group is, do not let the study group get distracted from the agenda. Further, don't let it become like a social group. You're meeting over there to do some bitching. You're trying to discuss the social affairs, the political affairs, and all those things. Um, and don't allow that people are coming and meeting over there in an unprepared way. Do not let any negativity slip into the group. That's not good. And don't let any one or two member dominate the group, because that's also not important. And what we all are bothered, of course, is about success. Success is something, you know, I always say it like this, it's a variant mix of the three factors: luck, labor, and chance. One should get the chance to be able to succeed. For example, if I wouldn't have appeared for the medical entrance exam, I wouldn't have ever become a doctor. Luck, so that a person is able to not only plan good and revise better and execute the best, and labor, work smarter, I would say. Hard work is definitely important, but smart work is also important. So, this is what really makes someone successful. the varying mix of it in different proportions. So sometimes there can be a big proportion of luck. Sometimes luck will have a smaller role, but labor and chance will have a bigger role. Sometimes the role of